Today we're going to talk about housing in Sweden. So there are two different types of contracts that you can obtain in Sweden, the first-hand contract and the second-hand contract. For this video, I'm going to cover only the first-hand contract. And the student housing and the university housing will be covered a little bit in this and a little bit on the other video because it comes under both the contracts. And I live in Uppsala, so I'm going to cover most things that are related to Uppsala. But for any other city, I think it's the same general rules, so you can follow them. So let's get started. For Uppsala, this is the website for registering for first-hand contracts. So one thing you should keep in mind that in Sweden, everything from hospitals to housing to admissions to anything or preschools, everything is queue-based system. So you need to be in queue and wait for your chance. You have to be in the line and you have to register for it. So for housing, for the first-hand housing contract, which means that first-hand housing contract means that you get the housing directly from the landlords, which could be different in different cities. For Uppsala, the landlords that I know are like the popular ones are the Rikshem and Uppsalahem and so on. So they are landlords who build buildings and then they give it for rental, like a permanent contract. And a second-hand contract is something that you get from a person who is already having a first-hand contract. So the first-hand contract person is your owner and he's subletting those apartments to you on a temporary contract, which is the second-hand contract. So just to keep in mind, first-hand contract is a permanent contract, while a second-hand contract could be a temporary contract. So moving forward, the website Uppsala Bostadsförmedling is where we register ourselves. So the moment you move into Sweden, the first thing you will do is to register yourself. For registering, of course, it asks you need to have a personal number, but for housing queue, you need not have a personal number. You could also register with the email ID that you use, or if you are a student, you can register with the temporary personal number that you obtained from your university during your admissions. So you can register in two ways. So if you are a family that moved in here, both husband and wife, or wife and wife, or husband and husband, if you're working, and if both the couples are working, then one may register in the housing queue, the other may opt to register as a co-applicant. If not, both may register as in housing queue and both may register as a co-applicant for each other. It completely depends. It's up to your choice. For us, like I have registered also in the housing queue, but I am also co-applicant for my husband, while my husband is also my co-applicant. So when you register as a co-applicant for somebody, it makes it easier if you want to move into a house together. So both of your salaries would be accounted for that particular house. And there are different rules which I will cover pretty soon. So you can register, and I'm already registered, so I'm not gonna register again. So I registered with my social security number here, and I have my password here. And if you already have a bank ID or mobile bank ID, you could start logging in through mobile bank IDs or bank IDs. And then when you log in, so I have some interests that I put in for the applicant, but you can go to vacant residency. So I am in the Uppsala län, which actually covers a different areas within Uppsala län. So it's the entire Uppsala common that has been covered. So it has Enköping and also different other areas within Uppsala and the outer areas of which everything that comes under the Uppsala's Uppsala. And when you see, so you can click. There are, when you see this, you will see there are different options. Something mentioned as youth, something like ordinary accommodation, or a few could mention as senior, and there will be another few that could be mentioned as sorry for the scroll. Well, yeah, something that says student accommodation. So these are like different variables that define these accommodations. So if you are a person who is working, who's not registered as a student in any university, cannot be registered to these houses. You cannot stand in line for these houses. However, a student who is not working could also register to the ordinary accommodation, and these ordinary accommodations are available for everybody. It's not only a particular category; it's for everybody. And the youth is for or like adults, young adults, youth, who just like, when you just move out of your house and you're looking for an apartment, then you register into this. It is age limited. So and then the senior one is also for people who are under the senior category, and that is also age limited. And some of these might have new production, which means they're completely new. Some may have short contract and not permanent contract. Such housing short contract means that if the landlord requires those housing for renovation, then you will need to move out of the house. So that's like short contract, and every month your contract will be renewed depending on the landlord's needs. So you will not get a permanent contract, and everything else are permanent. So here it is. It's a short-term contract, which means that this house could be asked to be vacated anytime when the landlord's requires it for renovation or any other reason. So let's get in and see one of the accommodations here. So I've been in queue for more than a year now. And depending on your queue points and how many people have registered in or shown interest in this particular house, you will get this on top of the page. It says your estimated queue space is 27 on 37, which means that there are 37 number of people who have registered for this particular house. However, out of them, I am in queue before 10 people, and there are like 26 other people who are already before me in this queue. So it doesn't matter what time you register your interest in, like whether you registered today or tomorrow. If there is a person who has been in the queue for longer than you, even if you registered just earlier than that person, you would still be behind that person. So this queue thing is not first come first basis. It's instead based on how long have you been in the queue for a house. So yeah, and you can see these are like some of the characters of the house, and it will show the landlord is Uppsala home or the Uppsala hem. This page has been translated, so yeah. And then you can see the move-in dates, and what is the brokerage fee. So every time you get a house, you have to pay the brokerage fee. And then it also shows you different requirements, and if you meet all the requirements, and then what are the additional things that has to be considered before signing a contract. And just because if you come first in the queue, it doesn't mean that you are secured with the house. The Uppsala or the landlord has to go through all your files. Even if you meet the general requirements, he will go through everything, and then they will let you know if you meet all their other specific requirements for that apartment. And when you do, then you will be given the contract to sign. Else they would move on with the next person. So this is how you get. And when you are in the top 5 or top 10, I guess. You will be called for viewing, so you can always go and view the apartment. Some apartments are not open for viewing, so you will have like pictures or the picture sent over, so you could always see. You could always opt for not viewing it. It's completely a choice. And it also says a description, so you have some pictures here, you have the floor map here, like how the apartment is constructed, and also the map for where the apartment is. So you could always go and check out different details of the apartment here and register for it. So the rent says 10K SEK, and in the description it doesn't say that um, anything is included, which basically means it's a cold rent. And most of the houses, say for example, yeah, we can go back and see some of the student apartment houses, when you see, they include uh, laundry, so you don't have to pay for laundry. And then the rent includes heat and water, so it also pays for your so the rent also has heat and water included, but the only thing that you pay is electricity and internet here. So some of the student apartments, they include everything in the rent, which doesn't mean it's a cool apartment, right? Yes. And then yeah, these are like student apartments. You can see the number of rooms are one. Student apartment ranges from different what do you call it, different number area. So some may be from 1 room, 2 room to 3 room, and even in 1 room they could range from 19 meter squares to 25 meters or 29 meter squares. It completely depends, and the rent varies within them. Yeah, so this is how you search for like the area. So here's this another apartment here in the student area, but then it is like ordinary accommodation. So yeah, a student can also be uh, registered for ordinary accommodations. And then you can always check the new productions. What are the current projects? Do you want to register for them? If the registration is already open before the move-in, say for example the move-in is like 4 months ahead, but the registration is already open, you could always register. And then they also have different landlords, so if you want to check out who are our landlords, you can always check them. There are different landlords in Uppsala, and then you can always check where their housing is. If you think this particular landlord gives more benefits, or this particular landlord has a better construction of apartments or whatever, like depending on whatever criteria you choose, you can always check out the landlords. And when you go to my pages, there's always your account information, and then there's something called expression of interest. So you can see how many apartments, if you register into any of your any of the apartments, then they will show up here. And then a display, it means that if you are under a particular queue number, and if you are eligible for viewing the apartment, then they will appear here, and then you have to say yes or no if you would like to view the apartment. And then leave a reply is when after you view it, and then if they would like to know if you would like to be, if you are like the top 3 and if you would like to be in the queue, then you can say yes or no. And control is when you have been offered the apartment, but would you like decline or not. You can always do a last minute decline. And then the contract is when you know that you have a contract. So for example, I had registered for one, and then it says that, oh, there's another applicant has been proposed as a tenant, so they are moving on. But if you do get the contract, and then it will show up the brokerage fee for your apartment. However, I already have a student apartment here, I don't need one. And then it's like add income, everything. So it's mostly like student funds, and then your monthly income after tax, how much do you have, or Yeah, it's all your income details and housing situations, like where do you live now. If your income is not enough, you could always add your co-applicant, or if you say you have enough funds, or if the if say for example, if you have a loan, or say a scholarship, or if the housing landlord is accepting it, then you could always put them. It will be under consideration. And certificate document, you have to supplement them with so for now I think I have to upload mine. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, you have to upload certificates of your income. You have to upload certificates of study and everything else, just to prove that you are a student. So all these certificates will go through the check when through the landlord when he's or when they're offering you a contract. And there are like payments. So the brokerage fee, like when you offer the housing, then you have to pay the brokerage fee, and this queue fee that you pay every year. Yeah, we also pay queue fee to stand in the queue, and it's per year, and it's not a huge money. I'm guessing it was around 300 something um, per year, so it is not a huge money. And mine's under auto pay, so it just pays automatically, and I had already paid a few. So yeah, it's so it's 305 per year, and this is my brokerage fee for the house that I have. So that's my payment history. um you can always look at surveillances, and yeah, always filter out things. And yes, and you can save your preferences, so they will send you notifications. So if you're like actively looking for an apartment, I think it's a good choice. um yeah, I think that is all in this video for first hand contract in Uppsala. And for it's the same for Stockholm. Excuse me. Yep. So it's the same for Stockholm. You can always find your house. Since Stockholm LAN is huge and it covers a lot of things, you can always go through their website and check out for houses. So you can see it has a lot of houses. This website looks a little different from what it looks in the Uppsala, but yeah. So here it is one. There is a student housing, and it also shows registration by the state at the latest, and how big it is, and what's the monthly rent. You can always click onto it. So it also says the resident has no lift, so just make sure the which floor the thing is, and to move your furnitures and stuff. So there's a lot of information about the apartment that's been on display here. I think yeah. And what is the condition of the landlords and stuff. I think this is very much same as the one in Uppsala. So you could always do that, and you could register. And for different city housing queue, you have to pay a different fee. So just because if you are in Uppsala's housing queue doesn't mean you're eligible to apply to Stockholm's housing queue. You still need to register into Stockholm's housing queue and pay the annual charges to be in the queue. So how do you gather queue points? You gather, so every day is 1 point. So it depends on how long you've been in the queue, and depending on that you get your queue points. So yeah, so this is how you do a first hand contract in Sweden, and this goes the same way for any other city you choose. So yeah, that's it, I guess. And if there are any questions about housing, please, or the first hand contract, please let me know. You can write down in comments, or you can also email to the Yeah, you can also email that. I'll put it on the description. So please feel to contact us. And that is all. Thank you.